one of those movies that reminds me of the video shop. Like back in the day when I worked in a video shop and customers used to come in and be like, yo man, I don't know what to get. What should I get? Like, you got any recommendations? I would find these movies that I genuinely absolutely love, like your Donnie Darkos, your Jerry, like that, your Gus Van Sant kind of movies, and they were like some of my favorite films. So I would say to these people, take that, go and watch that. You will love that. It's a good night in. You're gonna thoroughly enjoy it. And then they'd come back and pretty much slap me in the face, verbally of course, but I didn't care because I loved those movies. I love talky talk movies. I love dialogue in my movies. I love a good story. A Real Pain is 100% one of those movies. Here we have Jesse Eisenberg, an actor who's made his bread and butter out of being the talky talk guy, now directing and writing a movie called A Real Pain, which is, I feel, semi sort of based on real life experience. And then he brings in Kieran Culkin, who is on fire right now. He's been on fire for years. He's been a fantastic actor for years. But right now, people are really seeing Kieran Culkin and not just, there's Kieran Culkin, Macaulay Culkin's brother, in a movie. People are actually starting to see what this guy can do. Eisenberg saw that because from what I've read, Culkin didn't even have to audition for this movie. Eisenberg wrote this movie with him in mind to play this role. Let's talk about A Real Pain. So boiled down to its absolute most basic form, A Real Pain is a story of two cousins, totally opposite ends of the spectrum, and I guess they probably are both on the spectrum. You have Benji and David Kaplan, two Jewish cousins who have lived in America all their lives but still feel the affinity to their homeland, to Poland and whatnot. So you have Jesse Eisenberg's David, who's obviously going to be the shut-off, more intelligent, more introspective, thoughtful one. And then you have Benji, played by Kieran Culkin, who's the more out there, free-going, and just wants to have a good time of the two cousins. They've come together because their grandma Dory has passed away, and they want to visit Poland, but more than that, they want to go to where she lived, where she grew up, before she moved over to America. So I don't know a lot about the Jewish people, and I feel kind of bad for that, but at the same time, I'm a little Englander and I live in Berwick, and they probably don't know a lot about me. So that's as maybe. But we come to find out that that is something that means a lot to them. They need to go over and they need to do that, and it's sort of like it's a little bit of peace for them to let her know that she won't be forgotten, and they will do everything they can to remember her. And David comes up with this plan that while they're over there, why not do one of these tours that's going to take you around and show you parts of Poland that you maybe wouldn't necessarily get to see. So they join the tour. There are some really cool and different characters within the group that, honestly, they're going to bring out some of the best in our two main characters. And that's what's really cool about this movie. We'll talk a little bit more about that soon. And then that's what it is. They kind of just go on this tour. They visit these different places, one of which I will talk about shortly, but they visit all these different places, they see different parts of Poland, and while David is finding this to be somewhat of an intellectual stimulation, like he's getting some facts and figures, and he's kind of like, oh yeah, that's cool, I didn't really know that, I'm learning a bit more about my homeland and where my ancestors came from. While he's getting that side of thing, Benji is really seeing this as a kind of like a heart thing, like a heart over mind kind of situation, a scenario where he's really getting to get some emotion out of himself and he's connecting with his ancestors. So rather than finding out about them, as David is doing, he's connecting with the situation and he's feeling all of these emotions. And of course, a lot of that is to do with, we will find out as the movie goes on, something has happened to Benji a little while back that has kind of changed his perspective on things. It's kind of changed how he looks at things. But it's also this thing that has happened, this event that has happened, also has made David a little bit colder towards things, because how could that happen and we just carry on and we just do our thing and Benji still runs around doing what he does? And that's what's, like, I'll just talk a little bit about Jesse Eisenberg's writing here, because that is what is superb about this movie. You can act this way and you can do things this way, but when you have someone like Kieran Culkin who can just play anything and can just be the fun guy, he can be the outgoing guy, the guy who's just going to put passion in everything. I love Kieran Culkin as an actor, I always have. But then you have this other side of things where you have Jesse Eisenberg, who just wants to talk fast, just wants to be so matter of fact, just wants to do all of this and all of that and all of this and all that. But you see that in his writing as well, because his writing is so conflicted with itself. And you see that in the character of David. There's a moment at a table where Benji sort of like lets out like an emotional dump of things and then runs off in a little bit of a huff. And David is just left there holding the bag, which you get a sense of this has been David's life. Everything is so combative, and his emotions within himself, you can tell as he talks, are combative. And that's why I don't think Jesse Eisenberg gets enough credit for what he actually does as an actor. He's so out there and in your face, but pulls back the reins so that he doesn't have to tell you absolutely everything, because what he is telling you is the facts, but what he's showing you is the truth. That's what I love about Jesse Eisenberg, and that's what I think he's done with this script. It's a really, really tight script. It's a great movie. There's not really much time for you to breathe as such, even when there are the quieter moments when it slows down for a second. But we also have some other actors that I want to talk about. Will Sharpe, British actor Will Sharpe, Darkest Universe, a movie that I watched a few years back and genuinely thought was absolutely outstanding. Will Sharpe was absolutely incredible in it, and he's so good in this, and it's so good to have that British aspect. In fact, he's kind of like me in this movie, because although he's not connected to the story ancestrally wise, he really wants to know, and he really wants to learn, and he really wants to help people learn about the culture and everything like that. And I think Will Sharpe, with his typically British delivery, kind of brings a different level to it. And in a way, he's kind of the Jesse Eisenberg character in other Jesse Eisenberg movies. Jennifer Grey from Dirty Dancing fame. I'm like 40 minutes into this movie, we've spent some time with the character of Marsha, and I'm trying to figure out who this woman is. It's Jennifer Grey. I have not seen Jennifer Grey in anything for a good long while. It's great to see her, but I ain't seen her for a while, and yeah, she looks kind of different these days, but it's still Jennifer Grey, and she's actually really good in this movie. Brings this different character to Marsha, who kind of like connects with Benji in a couple of different ways, but then you sort of see the colors where it's kind of like, yeah, I connect with him, but boy, that kid's got issues. Boy, that kid needs help. And I really loved what Jennifer Grey did with this character. All respect in the world for her on this movie. But if I'm completely honest, nobody's putting in a bad role here. Like, there are some moments in this movie where you could think that, you know what, this person's character isn't going to deal well in this situation. I don't know what this actor's going to bring to this moment, but they bring it really well. So I want to talk about some moments that I did and didn't like, or some things that I did and didn't like. In fact, there's not really a lot that I didn't like. I thought this movie was pretty almost perfect. Like, it does a lot of things really well. It does leave you wanting a ton more and wanting to know what happens next with these characters, which is a sign of a good movie, I guess. But there are moments that I'd like to pick up on. A moment where they visit a concentration camp. And honestly, I really feared, for this entire scene, I really feared what Kieran Culkin was about to do here. I really did not know where we were going to go with this scene. But I can confirm, and I can say I'm very happy to report, we treat this moment with the most sincerest care and attention that it deserved. I didn't know you could go in and film in these places. I genuinely thought like this would be a no-go area. And you see certain parts of it that I was kind of like, oh my god, like we're doing this, we're seeing this. Like, I've seen it in documentaries, and I know they've dealt with it in documentaries, but this is a movie, and more than that, this is kind of like a mainstream movie. And Jesse Eisenberg is somehow, whatever clout he's got, whatever pull he's got, maybe the people just like the script or like the story or what they were doing, but Jesse Eisenberg managed to get the cameras in there, and we got to see some of the emotion on the face. I felt every moment of that. Nothing to do with me. Like, in terms of my heart and my ancestry and everything like that, something like that, I don't know how anybody could feel in that situation. I can honestly, hand on heart, say that. But I felt what these guys were feeling, what these characters were feeling, especially Jesse Eisenberg. So you have got Kieran Culkin, who's wearing his heart on his sleeve this whole movie, But in those moments, it was Jesse Eisenberg who really got me in those moments, because all of a sudden, it wasn't facts and figures. It wasn't stories that he'd been told. All of a sudden, David is there. So it has a really interesting score, some really interesting music going over the top, but sometimes it almost drowns out some of the dialogue. And I'm not saying that in a bad way, because at those moments, like, the dialogue probably isn't all that important, but these guys are talking to each other, and we are getting a sense of this relationship. We're getting a sense of who they are and how they interact with each other. But the music at times just feels a little overpowering. That was a negative for me. It's not a big negative, because, like I say, that would just be me being nitpicky. But I did find myself thinking a couple of times, just turn that down a notch. I kind of want to see what they're saying to each other. I kind of want to see what this relationship is right now. I believe this is Eisenberg's first movie, his directorial debut, and I think he's absolutely smashed it out the park. It's a fantastic story. It's really well shot. Poland looks gorgeous. Like, frame for frame, this thing looks amazing. So I've got no complaints about that at all. But the movie itself is just so well put together, nicely edited. I loved it. It was so much fun. A real pain, right? I'm just going to get into my rating. I'm going to give this a 4. It probably deserves a 5 out of 5, but I'm going to give it a 4 out of 5 on the fact that the music did kind of annoy me a little bit in places. And then I really wanted that moment for Jesse Eisenberg where he sort of gets that breakthrough moment, but he just held it back and held it back. And I get that as well. He's dealing with his own issues, so really, I guess he can't really have that clarity moment like Kieran Culkin's having almost all the way through the movie. And he's still got some stuff that he needs to deal with. He's not really dealt with it yet. So I get why we didn't get that moment. I would have just loved to have had that moment on. So for me, I'm going to stick with a 4 out of 5, definitely. But I just think there was something a little bit missing. And I can't wait to see what Jesse brings us next in the directing world. And Kieran Culkin, I'm always going to be looking out for that guy. That guy's an absolute baller actor, and I just love pretty much everything he's done so far. So yeah, I'm going to go. My name has been Kevin Halden. This is Nerdly Out Loud, the official channel of nerdly.co.uk. Job well done. 4 out of 5 for me. A real pain. Really did enjoy this movie. Please do hit me in the comments below. Let me know what you think of the movie when you get to see it. Please do let me know if you think I'm wrong, if I'm right. I love hearing all that stuff. Keep the comments coming down below. Hit that like, hit that subscribe, ding that notification bell. But for now, check out Real Pain. I am out.